Welcome to Pirate Living Podcast. We're your hosts, Karan and Kristen. On this podcast, we are highlighting ordinary people living extraordinary lives. These are pirates who take small, bold actions daily to create social change. Pirate life is all about rebelling and breaking the rules for good. Creating lasting social change starts by first breaking our inner rules. After all, the hardest rules to break are your own. The pirates we highlight have dedicated themselves to creating good trouble.
Today, we are talking with Sarah Jane Lewis. Sarah Jane is a self-proclaimed Etsy addict and entrepreneurial enthusiast. She created 5 successful Etsy businesses in 4 months and walked away from the corporate world. And now she's helping other entrepreneurs launch, grow, and thrive in their own Etsy businesses. And Sarah Jane, we're so happy to have you here talking with us today.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much for having me. It's an honor to be on your show.
And thank you also for staying up to talk with us
Yes.
because of the time difference.
Not a problem. Thank you.
So we had Google AI write a poem, and I think it's the best one it's done yet. Would you like to hear what Google wrote for you?
I'm intrigued to hear what it has to say. Go on. I love AI, so let's see what it can produce.
So Sarah Jane Lewis, a pirate of Etsy, creating businesses, she's a whiz bee. She walked away from the corporate world to help others thrive and never get bored. She's a role model for entrepreneurs, showing them that anything is possible. She's a true inspiration, and we're lucky to have her in our nation. So thank you, Sarah Jane Lewis, for all that you do. You're a true pirate, and we salute you.
That's made me a little bit tearful. That's quite. I've never had a poem written for me, so thank you. That is a first.
I am I'm enjoying this Google's way, and it's usually so upbeat too. Like, thank you for what you do, and it finds all the highlights. So I think it's fun.
Oh, that's amazing. Very positive. I love that.
So yeah, we would love for you to take us on a journey of your pirate tale, from how you went from corporate to where you are now in the entrepreneurial world, doing Etsy and thriving.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's been a long old journey in some respects because, as with all entrepreneurs, it didn't just happen overnight. I didn't just wake up and go, I'm going to be an entrepreneur today. It's always been there in my blood, even from a little girl. My granddad was very entrepreneurial. He would have he had an antique business, and he would go around little car boots in England, little thrift sales, and then kind of flip them in the Gary V term, and then upsell them to other people. And I would go along with him. But I always had little side things going on. I would sell like makeup and perfume, like at school in my bag, like lunch times, or buy chocolate, like lots of chocolate, and then sell it on for a little bit more. So it was always there, these little seedlings. And as with, I guess, most children, my dad was, you've got to get a proper job, you've got to be like have a steady income, you've got to be responsible. And he always used to give me this big speech about, just you can't just muck around, you've got to have good money coming in. Because my dad, when we were growing up, he had 3 jobs. He would wake up super early in the morning and go and do one job, and then he would come back, eat some breakfast, and then go do his day job. And then he would have an evening job. He'd come back, eat his dinner, and then go off to a factory. So he was very much conscious that he didn't want us to be in a position that we were struggling for money, couldn't pay bills. So he was very sure that you have to have a proper professional income, professional job. So I went into the world of accountancy. So little old me, 18 years old, was there going into the office, 2 minutes to 9, running in because I really didn't want to be there, sat in an office full of old people, just wanting just the world to end, because this is not how I want my life to be, but that's what life's meant to be. It's meant to be grown up, meant to be responsible. So that was pretty much life from the age of 18 up until March just gone, doing the 9 to 5, apart from having some time off for the children. But along that way, I just always had this desire just to do more. So at weekends, I would have different businesses. So from the different ages, the most fun one was running and making smoothies. I would go to outdoor events and make smoothies at fairs and craft things, and just anywhere there was people, and just try and make a little bit of extra cash. But having the corporate job and side hustles, just the two just didn't work as such, because you can't put all your energy in to your side hustle, because you're having to do the pay the bills, do the adult thing. But fortunately, in March this year, that all changed after I just thought, I can't do this anymore. I'm 40, like, I don't want to be doing this until I retire. I was absolutely miserable in my day job. Certain situations with team dynamics, my boss just being a certain way. It was just, I remember sat in the pub with my other half crying, because like, I can't do this anymore. I'm so miserable. Like, I cannot even explain the dread of every day of logging in and pretending I love what I do. And I'm sure that's the same for everybody. So I vowed to myself that I would make the change. I'll do something. And I've always been very, very crafty. So I invested in some equipment, and the reason I invested in the equipment was just for my own pleasure, really. I brought a printer, I brought a cricket machine, and just made things around the home. But there's only so many craft things that you can put in your own house before you start looking like a little bit of a crazy person. So it's like, right, I love doing the thing. I need to potentially put all that energy into something that people would buy. And Etsy's always been on my radar, but not really as a place for you to sell. I just thought it was just proper people, like proper shops on there. Until one day, after being particularly poorly, I went on this wormhole of just learning all about Etsy. And by the end of the weekend, I had a shop and I was selling things. And I was like, right, this is it. It's it. I can be at home. I can be flexible. I can work around the kids. I can do it in my lunchtime while I'm on my office job, or in between meetings, as I used to do. And it just snowballed from there, really. I created one shop, and leading up to Christmas, I was just getting sale after sale after sale. It was crazy. Like, my phone was just going ping, ka-ching. And if you have the Etsy app as a seller, that ka-ching sound is just an endorphin overload. Like, right, it's like crack cocaine. Like, I need another one of those. What do I need to do next? What can I sell? And that was it. I created one, and I soon realized that, because of my background in kind of business and accounting and just marketing, that the thing that lets people down online when they start an online business is they try to sell everything to everybody. And the beauty with Etsy is I could create a shop, a very nice boutique little shop, and target a particular person. And I could use all my skills and talents and all the equipment around me to create another shop to target a different type of person with a slightly different twist on that product. And that's how I ended up creating 5 different Etsy businesses with slightly different twists on each other, but maximizing everything around me to make it happen. And that all accumulated into making the decision come March to leave the corporate world. And what's that? Oh, it's October now. So that's good. I've lost track of time. It's been absolutely amazing. I absolutely love not being in that corporate job anymore. I mean, the people were lovely, don't get me wrong. I mean, everybody has to do what they need to do to pay the bills, but just the freedom and flexibility and the joy of meeting other people that are entrepreneurial is, it's brilliant. I love it. I love it. Love it.
So
Sorry, that was a lot.
Oh no, it's perfect. Yeah.
What is your craft then? I'm curious.
So I wouldn't say it was anything too fancy. I make personalized prints. So I take people's wedding photographs and put their favorite song lyrics around them. I make personalized labels. So you must know the Home Edit in America. You ever seen the Home Organization program? Where no. Oh my God. Have you been?
I don't know.
They just basically organize people's houses and label everything in their house. So I create labels for people to do the similar thing to their own house. So little labels to go on your cereal, or in your pantry for your tea, your coffee, your baking goods. I make greeting cards. I make chocolate bars. So I melt my own chocolate and decorate them with all different things. Make chocolate wrappers. All sorts. Yeah, I love it.
I love that you were the kid in school too that was like selling things, like buying things and then upselling them because my school didn't have, at least my class didn't have one of those kids, but I wish we did. I probably would have been buying instead of being the one selling. But I think that's the most fun thing when I hear like little child entrepreneurs at school being like, I'm going to buy this candy and I'm going to upsell it.
And I encourage my kids to do the same. Only at the weekend, they were out the front of the house doing the same thing. They're like, right, we're not babies anymore. We don't need these dolls. We don't need these toys. I was like, right, go and create a stall at the front of the house and sell it. And I kid you not, they made an absolute fortune. And half the money came from people that were just like, this is amazing that you're doing this. Here's a fiver, go and like buy some sweets. They're like, what else can we sell? Like running into the house to see what else they can get rid of. So I very much try and encourage my children to think that way as well, because there's more than one way to earn an income. And I think for whatever reason, well, for my dad had good reasons when we were kids to encourage me to get formal income, a formal career, which has done me well. It's seen me through kind of good times and bad times. But for the kids, I just want them to know there's more to life than sat at a desk, being told what to do. You can have some freedom and creativity in your life.
Yeah, and that's a good lesson to learn. I mean, Kristen and I both left corporate jobs through COVID, to become, to do our own thing. And I've never my parents weren't entrepreneurs, and that's not something that, like, my grandfather was a banker, my grandmother was a travel agent, so there isn't that entrepreneurial spirit in the family. So it's really cool that you had someone like your grandfather that could kind of teach you those ways as well, and to kind of encourage that different way of thinking. And because it is scary when you go out on your own, um, especially if you don't have anyone to kind of guide you, and you kind of like guessing.
And imposter syndrome creeps in, and your confidence levels dip.
Totally.
And in corporate life, I think the only good thing about it is there's people around you. In entrepreneurial life, they can be very, very lonely. Hence, I've created communities. I've got a great following on TikTok, purely just to give me somebody to talk to, but also other people to see, like, I can get things wrong. I'm not the best at things, but I give it a go. I try and I do something every single day that's going to take me towards a better life. So just inspire other people, motivate them just to keep doing it. I think the problem is with today, a lot of people get fed this line that you can make loads of money overnight, and if you're not, there's something you're doing wrong, and that's just not the case at all. As I said, I've had multiple businesses. They weren't successful in the long run, but I've learned something from each of them, and all that knowledge has accumulated to give me the confidence to do what I do today.
I'm curious too, because like you have a business, you start it, and like, say the quotes on pictures, I'm sure is something that people like that can go long term, but say maybe there's Schitt's Creek will go with like the show Schitt's Creek, quotes from that. And people are really wanting that, and that's popular in the moment, and then give it a couple of years and all of a sudden that's not popular anymore. So I imagine too, there's like taking something, learning from it, and then also getting to know when it's time to either shift into a new way within that store, or say like, oh, this little store that was geared toward these people is dying down, so maybe that one gets retired and we move on to something else. But yeah, I imagine there's a lot of learning within that too, of like, what do people want right now?
Exactly. And I think the growing of TikTok shows you what trends are it's a lot quicker than what's out on any other platforms. You can see what's out there, what people are interested in. But I think fundamentally, I think if you stick to core niches, things like wedding products, things like baby products, pet products, you can always put your own twist and spin on those, which include those trends, but you end up having a core foundation of products. But you can make the most of those tweaks and those trends that are out there to kind of ride that wave out. But that's what I'd suggest to most people is don't wholly rely on trends, because as you said, you could peak and then nothing. Try and build it in a natural way.
Do you, as like, because having multiple businesses, did you find was it hard to keep up with the demand?
No, because I have ADHD, so I thrive on chaos.
Perfect.
So I quite like I've literally had to close about 90 tabs on my computer just to make sure that our recording went well. Because I've literally got a window for everything. But I love that. That for me just tickles, like it just ticks all my boxes in that regard. So I think that is my superpower, is that I can have multiple tabs open on my screen and my brain, flip between them all and still manage. And I've got the coaching business on top of that. It just energizes me rather than deflates me, if that makes sense. And I love the variety. And because I need that constant stimulation and constant variance, if I get a little bit bored with the labels, can't be asked that today, I go, right, I'm going to go all in with my sweets. I'm going to do all this. And that just keeps me going. Whereas corporate job, you've got something to do and you really don't want to do it, and you can really drag it out, and it can just be absolute hell. And it wasn't until a colleague pointed out to me that I realized I had ADHD, because he said to me, you are absolutely brilliant when you love what you're doing, but when there's something you don't want to do, he said, it is painful to watch because you just can't be bothered to do it. And I didn't realize how extreme my ups and downs were in that respect, and how visible it was to other people. And there was other things that were going on that added to that. But I realized I'm not a normal person that can do the 9 to 5. So I need to feed my soul, and it's working because I feel amazing. Even to the point, I was just saying this to somebody, my hair's curly. For the last 30 years, I've straightened my hair to conform with a certain look, to be a certain person. And the last few months, I've just let my natural curls go a little bit wild, because I'm allowed to be. I don't have anybody telling me that I can't, or commenting on the way that I look. I can just be who I want. And that's what I really love about having my own business and doing my own thing. Sounds a bit crazy. It sounds really restrictive that I was like that before, but you know what I mean. You kind of put yourself in a box a little bit.
But like the restricted part with me with corporate, I was in childcare, and also before that I was teaching. And it seems like somebody that works with young children, you'd want them to be their most vibrant, true to themselves person, so that they can be like, hey guys, I'm here, we're gonna have fun. But no, they're like in college, and then also in my every job that I had, it's like, you don't dye your hair. If you dye your hair, it's only natural colors, and you have to look professional at all times. Or like when I was in the corporate childcare setting, we had a uniform we had to wear. And then I was working with 5-year-olds, and like dress up days were where I got to be Miss Frizzle, like come out and be like my wildest colors, dressed like a 5-year-old. And those were the most fun days. But otherwise it's like, oh nope, you've got to be this person that looks this very specific way. And to the point where it's like, you can't, your hair, if you dye it, has to look natural. And even though like kids would love you so much more if you had clown colored hair, but like just all these things where it didn't make sense, but you also very much like it's fitting into a box. And when I got out, I was just like, no more. I don't want anybody telling me anymore like what I can do with my hair or how I can dress or any of those things, because it's so much.
It is. It can be hard to allow yourself to be yourself. It's taken me a long while to kind of get out of that, but it's brilliant. If my other half just says I'm a completely different person now, so in a good way. So that's good. So yes, I love it.
How hard was it for just the startup? Like, I imagine there was some initial kind of startup costs, or was this like you were already doing the thing, so you already had the things?
So startup cost wise, I already had my office at home, you know, computer, those sorts of things. There were things that were already in the home. Printer wise, I got a really good printer, which the cost of equipment these days has really dramatically gone down. Crazy enough, the whole world has increased in price, but some of the basics have gone down. So a nice ink tank printer was about £200. Cricket machine was about the same. And then it's just craft supplies, really. So from that point of view, that was the biggest outlay. But if you're crafty, you've mostly got a few things at home already. And then to sell on Etsy, it's basically a very, very low startup cost. It's 20 cents for every listing that you put up. And then when you make a sale, they charge you another 20 cents plus a processing fee and a transaction fee. So as long as you build in those costs into your product, your sales price, it's a good way to make money, kind of, yeah. And if you've already got a skill and a talent, you can just start off very, very simply and work and add on to it. You don't need to have this completely perfect, polished shop full of all the things you can possibly make. But yeah, equipment-wise, there's a few £100s to start with.
And is Etsy like the best platform, or are there others that you had like considered, or like?
I'm considering others. I mean, Etsy's not the only one. You've got Not on the High Street over here in the UK. I'm not too sure if you've got that in the States. Got Amazon Handmade, you've got eBay. I chose Etsy predominantly because it was all about the personalization element. It was a little bit higher, what's the word? Not higher class, but a little bit more specialized in people going there for a particular reason. Amazon is obviously a lot of drop shipping, a lot of mass produced stuff, but they have added on this handmade element into their business, which is something I really want to look into come 2024. eBay is a good platform, but I got burnt there many, many years ago, so it kind of put me off. I used to sell things on there, and then people would scam you saying it never arrived or was damaged, and I was like, I can't be bothered with that. So I focus predominantly on Etsy, and with everything in business, focus on one thing and do that really, really well before you kind of spread yourself too thin trying to learn all the platforms. They've all got their ups and downs. They've all got their pros and cons. I know Etsy's had a bit of bad press worldwide because they had a payment reserve issue. They were putting lots of people on payment reserve. Predominantly that was because they were trying to protect buyers from people that were potentially taking money, then closing their stores and not really delivering the goods. But they're rectifying it, they're learning, as with all these platforms. They do listen and they do implement changes. But yes, there's lots of options out there, but I think Etsy's really one of the biggest ones that I think for personalization elements. And that's what I like. If you want to drop ship and do that sort of thing, then obviously Amazon's a great way to go.
And with Etsy too, they have for sellers a couple different options of like you pay monthly or you can do the free option. Have you tried the paying monthly option, or are you doing the free version?
I didn't notice too much of a difference, to be honest with you. No.
Okay.
So my first store I did, and the second and third and fourth I didn't bother, and the fifth one, so I downgraded my first one. I haven't noticed much of a difference, to be honest with you. They do have an option for you to use something called pattern, but lots of people report that actually decreases your sales. So I just kept it simple. Yeah, I reduced any subscription fees that way.
That's good to know too, because I've looked into Etsy. This past year I got Karan into crocheting with me, but I picked up crochet. And like you said, with the craft supplies, you can only have so many in your house before it look a little crazy. And like when you're crafting little stuffed animals, there's only so many you can have in your house before you look like a crazy person. So my husband keeps encouraging me to start an Etsy shop, and I've looked into it, but I haven't done it yet. So good to know that the free version is just as good as the monthly payment.
Definitely. I think with Etsy, the one thing you need to know is lots of people just open an account and put their stuff on and don't do anything else.
Mm.
There's lots of fundamentals that need to be done. You need to treat it like a proper business. You need to treat it like a proper shop. So imagine you had a brick and mortar shop. You'd have a nice window display. You'd have all your products nicely lit and things would look nice. So you need to put some effort into the kind of the aesthetics of it all. Like things like your shop name need to be crafted. Even from the naming of your products, the way that you title them, the descriptions, not from just from a human point of view, but from an algorithm point of view. Etsy is partnered with Google, so your listings will show up on Google as well, providing they tick all the boxes in regards to kind of compliance. Even the whole privacy policy, FAQs, there's so many different nuances in the shop that it's a balance of all of them that help you have a really good shop. And SEO is a huge part of it, and making sure that you crack that. So lots of people get really caught up on like one part, not making any sales because of this. But when you look at their shop, they haven't got a complete shop, and it's really glaringly obvious to a human from the background and AI that's assessing it to make sure, have they done this tick, have they not? And they literally score all these different parts of your shop to go, right, this is a really good shop, we're going to put you in front of all these people, or it's not a good shop, we're not going to bother. Etsy at the end of the day want to make money. They want to make processing fees, they want to make their customers happy. So if you understand that side of things, you can create an amazing shop. Lots of people get very caught up and think, well, Etsy's like this one person that sat there at their computer going, I don't like Christian's shop, I'm going to put her to the bottom of the list. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that. You have to understand the tech behind it in order to make sure that you've done all that you can to boost that, to get it to the right place. Even things like social media can really, really help, doing your own PR and marketing behind it. So yeah, lots of different elements go into making it successful. It's not impossible, it's just to understand there's lots of things at play.
So tell us about your Etsy business coaching program that you have.
Yes, so this came about by accident, really. Just telling people about what I was doing, and then lots of people needed help. I didn't realize how big it was, to be honest with you, how many people sold on Etsy until I dived into it. Started off just videoing what I was doing, creating little lessons and sharing that. I use a platform called Kajabi, which is a really fantastic all-in-one platform. I'm all for making life easy. So it has like your website, your courses, your email, everything you can manage in one place. And I built out this very easy step-by-step, do this, because I know how overwhelming it is. When I started out, there was so much information in there, and every YouTuber out there has got like a 30-minute video about one thing, and you're just like, I watched YouTube videos on double speed just so they can get to the point, because I'm just like, I haven't got all day, just tell me the thing that I need to know. So I took that all on board and built that into my own course and broke it down into nice digestible things, because it can be really overwhelming when you start out. And what I found when I was on my journey, there wasn't one place to go that said to do all these things. So that's what I've done. I've created a course called the Etsy Blueprint, which takes you literally step by step through the process of creating a shop and more, how to optimize your social media to make the most of that, how to get PR, how to create multiple businesses, how to do the finances. Like it's kind of a whole business package really on how to run an Etsy business. And then from there, it just kind of expanded, and lots of people just wanted just to talk and me to look at their shops and give suggestions. And I now help with Shopify sites. So what I suggest with people that are a little bit more advanced and along their Etsy journey is that you need to think about your whole e-commerce system. So use Etsy as a funnel, use Etsy as a platform to attract your customers. And there's a way to then capture their emails, which is compliant with GDPR in the UK and all your American laws, to then market to them and push them to your own website, because that's where you can make more money. So that's what I now teach, is how to use Etsy to then funnel them into your own website, how to optimize your own Shopify website, and create this nice little ecosystem that will help you grow your business.
It's very cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you're doing coaching with people too, are you helping them set up their shops? Are you taking a look at their shops and giving them tips on like how to make it better? What are you doing within the one-on-one part?
So one-on-one tends to be with people that have got a shop, so they're a little bit further along their journey, but a little bit stuck. So I work with them one-on-one, go through their listings, go through their whole shop and make suggestions. So that's more that people that are new, that I point them to the course, because that's really kind of the fundamentals. But yeah, I love this kind of thing. Sit with somebody, get their shop on screen, go, right, look at, because when you're looking at something, especially your own work, it's hard to see where you need to make improvements. And we just go through each element of their shop. I had a lady today, a lovely lady from Scotland, who makes the most gorgeous Harris tweed cushions, and she has like Highland cows on the front, and she does, everything she makes is stunning, but she just wasn't getting the sales. And it was a case of just understanding how the AI works and how to just improve her SEO strategy, like do this, do that, and I've got tools that help you figure that out. And by the end of our session, she's like, right, I know what I need to do. And she's going to go off and then report back in a few weeks' time. And I think it's just giving people, as you know, when you're running your own business, just having some sort of structure and a to-do list, almost that formal, like, just tell me what I need to do type process between a coach and a client, just to help them just move on a step. And once you give them the confidence and ability, people just fly. I've got a lady who's actually, she's going to kill me if I get this wrong. She's in Texas. I'm sure she's in Texas. The Crayon Queen. Oh my God, this lady is phenomenal. She makes the most beautiful products. She makes all molded crayons in the most phenomenal shapes for children. We worked together one-on-one. We had about 6 or 7 hours together. And she went from a handful of sales to thousands of sales, making like $900 a day. And she now does her TikTok shop, and she had about 20,000 people watching her on her TikTok shop the other day, because we worked together, got her shop working well, gave her the confidence to just go and do it. And yeah, she's doing phenomenally well. So I think it partly is knowledge, partly is just confidence and just motivation to people, just to say, like, you can do this, like, you produce amazing products, and they just need that support and encouragement.
Imagine having thousands of sales, Kristen. I'd be like, I will take me 10 years.
If it's all done by hand crocheting, yes, that would take forever. That's why you need stickers or the shirts or something.
Yeah, well, that's where you need to work out, like, what's the low-hanging fruit? What could you turn over quickly that's got good margins? You said about your background in childcare. I mean, there's a lot there when it comes to kind of workbook sheets, materials to help people. There's a lot that you can hone in and look back in your life and career and think, actually, what resources would help people that I could create a shop just for that? And then maybe do a shop that's focused on your crochet animals. There is one lady in France that makes the most beautiful, huge crocheted elephants. And it's of like, they're gorgeous to look at. They're all like pastels, very like suave and just gorgeous. And they're very high end. And she's selling them like for $200 each. Yeah. So lots of people, they don't tend to put a value on how much effort goes into their products, and they undersell it and they get burnt out. If you're making something that's very handmade, very unique and very high end by using a certain type of material, you can then warrant yourself higher prices. And that's why I think Etsy allows you to do that quite well without
Yeah, that is one nice thing with Etsy too, where you go into it knowing like these are handmade products that people put time into, and you expect that you're going to be paying a little more. Like if I come across something handmade that's being sold low, I'm gonna be asking more likely why is it so low in price than and it's a little less likely to be like that's really high. I mean, things are still high sometimes, and then it's like, well, maybe this isn't my product. But if it's really low, I'm also going to question, like, why is this going for $5 when they could sell it for 20? And yeah.
Yeah, that's what I work with people to encourage them to realize their worth and charge what it is worth so that they make money. Lots of people are scared of making money. Lots of people are fearful, like it's not safe to be successful, so they sabotage themselves straight from the start. And I encourage them to kind of believe in themselves a little bit more and just change that mindset. It's possible.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of conversations we've had as we've gotten started and selling like our like crochet animals, like what should we charge for this? What should I charge for this? The amount of times back and forth that we like, I don't know what to charge for this. Like it's challenging to like come up with some a price that, because especially if you're used to working in like $1 per hour, kind of scenario. Or like a job like that corporate, well, I make this much an hour, and it took me, because I'm slow, it took me 72 hours. So, clearly this guy is worth
$500.
$17,000. Right? But yeah, it's hard to be like, okay, materials, I can get a good idea on that, but then like how do you value your time that it took for you to like actually create that that we've had that challenge.
So you got to find your unique selling point. What is it about your products that's different to everybody else? Is there a particular material that you use, a particular design? There's all sorts of things that it's the same thing as like trying to sell a pencil. Like, why is my pencil better than your pencil? You got to think of all the different aspects of what it is about your product that's different to warrant just that little bit more. And sometimes $1, $2, $5 can make a huge difference overall. And sometimes you just need to test it. It's perfectly safe to test certain price points to see what works. And also you can have various other products around your shop that support your shop. So for example, with your crochet animals, you could have the crochet designs as digital downloads. They're seriously really, really popular on Etsy. You can have little crochet kits. So you have all the bits together for somebody else to go home and crochet it themselves, So you don't necessarily always have to be doing the final product. Think of all the other kind of associated products that you could create as variances, a variety of different products around your main product in your shop, and that would definitely help build your shop out and give customers lots of choice.
Yeah, the patterns are smart because you create it once and then it's just download. Like you don't have to ship anything, you don't have to do anything. So being able to sell patterns, I think, would be like they're not a high price point, but they're just kind of like, I don't know, evergreen.
It
like
could
they're
be.
always going.
It could be $5 a pattern. I mean, that all adds up. If not, I mean, I just took that number out of thin air, but I know there's one particular lady that came up on my feed the other day that she collaborated with a big crafter online, and he just mentioned her name on a TikTok live, and she had hundreds of orders come in, and her phone, she showed was just like reams of orders through her Etsy shop. So there is today in 2023, we have so much opportunity around us. It can be a little bit overwhelming, but you have just absolute world at your feet in regards to what you could earn and do with your products. You just need to think in different ways how to get it out there.
Yeah, one thing too with like when you, like you were saying, valuing what you make, that's something that's hard. What I've found difficulty with as well, I've written a couple children's books, and I go into all the process of writing out the book, but I cannot for the life of me come up with a short description of the book and like good way of describing my work that I did. And I find descriptions one of the hardest things to come up with. So, yeah, how do you encourage people for writing those descriptions that catch eye or are eye-catching? Is it better to, now that we can use AI, is it better to go with AI for doing it? Or, yeah, what are some tips for that part too?
I think a mix of both, to be
Mm,
honest with you. I think overwhelm comes into it and overthinking a lot. And I think if
mhm,
you could just go into AI, ChatGPT or Claude or whatever your preference of AI there is, because there's so many now, and just put in some ideas and ask it to come up with some suggestions, that is just fuel just to go, right, oh, I quite like the look of that, I just
mm,
amend it slightly and then it sounds more like me. So I'm not against AI in any shape or form. I think copying and pasting it directly and it having not having your voice in it
mm.
is it's not the way to go. I know ChatGPT likes to skyrocket everything, and it's just like it's so obvious that somebody's copied it directly off. Um, but yeah, I think a combination of your own creativity and the input from AI can just help you just come up with different ideas. So yeah, I know it's difficult. It can be difficult to just, I've been doing the thing, but I don't know how to
Uh-huh.
describe it in like 5 words.
Yeah, there's so many areas where our brains can get into overthink mode where we can get in our own way when going on those entrepreneurial journey. So yeah, it's having somebody too to be like, okay, like outside source, be like, okay, yes, like this is what I see, because we can as humans get in our heads so easily.
We can. And sometimes it might not be the first iteration that works. I
Mm,
know I can do something one day and think, oh my God, that's amazing. And come back the next day and go, what was I thinking? I obviously was not. What is that? It looks horrible. So yeah, it's just a process. Half the time, it's just doing it, just having a go, putting it out there, learning and improving. We can all be in our heads and be the most amazing entrepreneurs and millionaires in our heads and not actually ever put pen to paper or press that button on your keyboard to make it happen.
So what is next for you?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I'm at the moment looking at how I can automate my processes to reach more people. That's what I'm doing. So I'm working with a tool called ManyChat. I want to grow my community. I want to grow my reach. Um, I've got fantastic following on TikTok, so it's trying to help people on their journey to kind of come into my funnel as such, so then they can become potential customers, potential clients. So that's what I'm looking at the moment, is like all my internal processes here, like what materials can I give to people to help them to become part of my email list, because that's my biggest asset, to then nurture them to help them in the future, because I don't charge huge amounts of prices. I undercharge as well completely. I have the same thing, and I know I give lots of value to people, so that's what I'm, how can I help more people? I've got this dream of helping 1 million people and their families, because there's a knock-on effect, isn't there? You help a person create a business and it doesn't impact just that person, it impacts their kids, the people around them. Just seeing the impact of, like, on my family and my life, how that's helped me be an entrepreneur. So yeah, so that's what's next for me. Working smarter to reach more people, because I'm only human. I seem to give myself lots of things to do, so I need to make sure I can meet all those obligations in the most efficient way and still have time to sleep and go to the gym and feed the kids, walk the dog, all those real life things. How about you guys? What's on your to-do list for the future? 2024 is just around the corner, which is a bit scary.
Yeah.
Well, I had tried to get into some holiday craft fairs this year for the first time, and which is I found is hard to do. A lot of times they places I kind of applied for, they take returning vendors first, and they sell out. So I've started my own craft fair.
Oh,
So
brilliant. That's innovative. That's brilliant.
yeah, I'm like, well, I'll make my own and you're not invited.
Excellent.
So yeah, this is the first time I've got a partner, and we're trying to figure out how to make a like family friendly, fun holiday craft fair event with yeah. So
Brilliant.
we've got that coming on December 2nd. So if you're in the Vancouver area, yeah, we've got a holiday craft fair coming up. So yeah, just trying to find vendors and other fun activities for kids to do while parents hopefully buy lots of
things.
cool things.
Excellent. Is it just the animals that you do, the crochet animals, or is there other crafts that you do?
No, I just the crochet animals, yeah.
Excellent. So
Yeah.
kids, they would be good for parents to sit with their kids. Anything like that's take home and DIY, and that saves you sat at home madly making things to fill your stall.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I'm not quite there yet. I think the key is that not everything has to be big and take me like 3 days to make. So just figuring out some smaller guys to put together so that they could like little Christmas ornaments and stuff like that. But yeah, I think I was telling someone as soon as we decided and got the green light that we were going to do this craft fair, I started panic crafting. I'm like, oh my God, I need more things. But my guys live in my little chair over there. So yeah, there's definitely I have way too many stuffed animals for what a almost 50-year-old woman should have in her house. So, but we've definitely sold some here and there just from regular social media, just posting them and which has been good. And I don't know about Kristen, but I definitely didn't go into this like planning to sell them. It just got to the point where like, wow, I've spent a lot of money on yarn. And I need to recuperate some of these costs. And like you said, now I have a house full of stuffed animals. And the best way to recuperate some of that money is to sell them. So that's
people joy. Like your products are amazing. People appreciate homemade things.
Yeah.
Just that extra touch. Oh, brilliant. And how about you, Kirsten?
Well, Karan reminded me right now of like what initially I had been seeing these little kits for crochet and I kept going, maybe I want to try something. And what initially went through my head when I finally said yes was like, oh, I could learn how to crochet and then I can create these animals that go along with my books or like little ninjas because I have Language Ninjas is what I call the brand of like what the books fall under and some other like I have YouTube little guided meditations that I've done with it and some downloadable materials that teachers or parents can use. So anyway, I was like, oh, I can make little ninjas or I can make little dragons to go along with my book. Or even the characters, like I can make dolls that match the characters. So these were all initially my thoughts. I have not yet gotten to the point where I wanted to make any of them because there's so many things. I'm like, ooh, try something new. Ooh, I want to try this pattern. Oh, I want to do that. But my goal eventually is, especially now that I've gotten a lot of practice, and my goal is to start making things that would go along with the book. And then as I've been crocheting, I've saw like the kids show Bluey. As an example, they have online crochet patterns for their characters. Like there's a grandma sweater blanket or something like that, and there's Bluey himself, and I think another character that they have crochet patterns on their website. So it's like, oh, hey, this is a really fun idea too. Like I could create a pattern that goes along with the books and start marrying together like all the different things. Cause yeah, like I have so many different things where I'm like, I have crochet. I have these books. We do a podcast. How do these things go together? So being able to bring them together into one would be amazing.
Just thinking,
Mm,
I don't know if this is your cup of tea, but I was saying about the craft kits, the way if you want to make money that works well in England, people like subscriptions, little
mm,
boxes each week, or sorry, not maybe each week, but each month, like a little box that comes through the post,
mm,
little, I mean, we have like science kits, we have like business boxes, we have like DIY this, flower kits, and it's really, really popular, even like tea kits and soap kits. I'm just thinking like it's something to create a recurring revenue, like sign people up like for 3 months, 6 months. That would keep you busy, you know,
mm,
and put all your little yarns together and some needles and your pattern printed off with a nice little story about your books and
mm.
just just add another thing to your list of possible things to do.
Figure out the yarn I like.
But there's
Yeah.
so much potential.
Mhm. Yeah, so many options in the world of things to do.
Yeah, and just see what people want. I think that's what you
Hmm.
need to focus on. What do people actually want? Do they want the completed thing, or do they want the joy of making the thing that you get? And to be
Mhm.
honest, I know that I like making the things. So yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, that's the tricky part too, like finding do people want it made or do they want to make it? And I up until like this past year, I would have said I want it made, but now I'm like, oh, I want to know how to make a hat. I want to know how to make slippers. I want to make all the stuffed animals. So
Yeah.
yeah, it really depends too on like, do they like being hands-on and doing things themselves, or would they just prefer to have the product and be able to do what
Mhm.
they want with it?
Yeah. No. Lots of
Mm-hmm.
options. Lots of options.
Where can our listeners go and find out more about you? Maybe your TikTok, your Etsy stores,
Yeah,
multiple
yeah,
stores.
yeah.
Where can they
So
find you?
on the web, I am www.sj-lewis.com. On TikTok, I am Etsy Queen, so SJ Etsy Queen. Oh, bless me, sorry.
That's you.
So on TikTok, I am SJ Etsy Queen, and all across social media, Instagram, Facebook, I'm on as SJ Etsy Queen. I don't share my Etsy stores because I had a very successful TikTok video that got to about 1 million views. Everybody goes and has a nosy, and then that's a huge red flag to Etsy because everybody goes and looks and nobody buys, and they're like, oh,
Mm.
nobody likes this shop, we'll downgrade it.
Oh.
So yes, I'm a bit wary, so to protect my future of my businesses and to stop me having to recreate another shop, I don't share it, or share them, should I say. But yes, social media, you can find me all over social media. I learned that the hard way. That was a hard one.
Hmm.
I was doing really, really well, and then all of a sudden I was like, I've got all this traffic, amazing, but people were just being nosy, and
Hmm.
yeah, it went negatively against me. So yes,
Hmm. That
yes, social media is where you'll find me.
Excellent. Just followed on TikTok.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, just thinking how frustrating that would be to be like, oh, hey, people are looking at my shop, but if no one, yeah, if they're not buying, that's interesting that they
No,
downgrade you. Mm,
no, and it's the downside of the internet, really, because
mm,
everybody can get a little bit shirty,
mm,
because they like you could share and you might not be making enough money to impress them. So they're like, who are you to say this? You know,
mm,
you might be making too much and then it's intimidating and overwhelming for people. So I'm very genuine, I'm very honest. If you look up through all my material, I'm super helpful, you know, so I do give a lot of my time and energy to people for nothing. So yeah, that's one piece of the internet I want to keep to myself because I
mm,
really enjoy making my crafts. So yeah, I let the algorithm naturally show me the right customers on Etsy
mm,
because they are tracking all that data. They're assessing how people interact with your shop, what kind of people look at your shop, because they're curating everybody's
mm,
Etsy profile for them. So you want to attract the right customer for your business in order for your business to grow.
And I imagine too, like if me here over in the United States is looking at your shop where you're not going to be able to ship to me without it costing probably more than the product itself, that would also go against you. So
Exactly. That's not the kind of data I want Etsy to be collecting on me and my ideal customer. So yes. But no, I absolutely love it, and I think you should all do it. And I want to be seeing digital crochet patterns, subscription boxes, craft fairs, the whole thing.
all the things.
All the things.
Well, and we like to end with asking if you have any advice for our listeners about how they can start their own pirate life or their own entrepreneurial journey.
My advice would be focus on the things that you love to do already in life, and then it doesn't seem like a job, it doesn't seem like a chore, it doesn't seem like hard work. That's the best thing you can do.
Great advice.
Love it. Well, Sarah Jane, thank you so much for talking with us today, and this was a really fun conversation.
Oh, thank you for having me. That was amazing. Thank you.